appointment to meet with them at this point?
No, they've said that they would enjoy having us come up to Denver, look over the scoring and walk through those criteria. We simply haven't had an opportunity to do so. I travel 50% of the time. We have the holidays. We've had a number of personal issues, both for Rick and myself, that have taken us down for a week or so at a time. And that has prevented us from actually just setting a time to go up and meet. But they haven't said we won't meet with you. They've said we want to meet with you, we just need to schedule it when we can come up there and do that. We didn't have the opportunity to do so between the denial and tonight.
And that's certainly understandable, and I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'll vote. Well, then, if you, maybe you can tell me, my understanding was with the loss of those funds, that you felt like you had $150,000 that you still were going to try to cover. You felt like you cut out that $100,000, and then there was $150,000 left.
We had talked to you in less than 24 hours since we found out. In that time, in that intervening couple of weeks, the work that Aaron and Rick have done has produced a budget with all of the CDE money removed, and that is viable. We do not have a shortfall. Now that we have had the chance to go through the budget and work line item by line item and make changes in several of those areas, the current budget assumes $0 from CDE. There are no mystery dollars in the budget that are accounted for. Our revenue covers our expenses as we have laid out in that budget now. So we do not need the CDE grant, any portion of it, nor do we have a shortfall in our proposed budget based on the loss of CDE money in order to be viable in year one. That's the point that Aaron was making. Now, if we can get the state to reconsider, that would be extra cash flow above and beyond what's in the current budget money you see. If we wind up applying for and receiving a year two grant, then that's above and beyond what's in the budget. We have not assumed or factored in a CDE grant in subsequent years.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Oh, Colonel Hardy.
To whoever wishes to answer, have you engaged in conversations with anyone about a line of credit or the bridge loan yet? Because that seems to be the key piece to get you from summer to October when the per pupil dollars start rolling in.
We have not started those conversations yet. The Colorado League of Charter Schools has already provided us several lenders that they believe would be viable candidates to provide that. We've also been approached by other financing operations that indicate that they also have that kind of money available. We've not started those conversations because it's frankly too early. We need a charter before we can actually have a serious conversation like that. And frankly, these things take a lot of paperwork. So.
Else? All right, well, thank you. So at this time, we're going to be moving to item 5B. And at that time, right now, I'm going to be asking for a motion to approve Resolution 260-16, either approval or denial of the new Summit Charter Academy application. I want to be clear to the board and to those present that I'm going to ask someone to make a motion, and then there will be an opportunity for us to discuss that further before we do a roll call and a vote. So at this time, I'm asking for a motion.
Mrs. Johnson, I'd move the following resolution. Board of Education of Academy District 20 to deny the new Summit Academy application for a new charter school. Whereas on September 30th, 2016, the new Summit Charter Academy submitted an application to Academy School District 20 seeking board approval of a new charter school to open in August 2017. And whereas the Colorado State Board of Education has granted Academy School District 20 exclusive authority to authorize charter schools within the geographic boundaries of the school district. And whereas the Academy District 20 Board of Education, after giving proper notice, held 2 community meetings on November 3rd and 17th, 2016, to assist the board in its decision regarding the new Summit Charter Academy application. And whereas the District Accountability Committee reviewed the complete charter school application and presented the results of its review to the Academy District 20 Board of Education on November 17th, 2016. And whereas New Summit Charter Academy applied to the Colorado Department of Education, CDE, for a Colorado Charter Schools Program grant for funding of $215,000 per year for 3 years. And whereas one of the objectives of the Colorado Charter Schools Program is to expand the number of high-quality charter schools by providing financial assistance for planning, program design, and initial implementation of new charter schools. And whereas a team of independent grant readers with expertise in charter schools and education reform reviewed the grant proposal, and New Summit Charter School Academy earned 51 points out of a possible 135 points. And whereas the Colorado Department of Education denied the New Summit Charter Academy's grant request as it did not score the minimum 85 points needed to receive funding. And whereas New Summit Charter Academy's plan to offset the loss of $645,000 grant revenue is to eliminate Capturing Kids' Heart Character Education Program and replace it with Character Formation Project, Core Knowledge version, increase enrollment, charge a fee for books, defer principal salary, although understood that that's now changed, create a 501c3 corporation in hope of raising $10,000 for marketing efforts, negotiate with the landlord to finance cost of fixtures and furniture into the lease, and reduce the contingency allowance from 2% to 1%. And whereas the foregoing plan is predicated on speculation about enrollment numbers which appear to be very ambitious, and an assumption that they can finance rather than purchase desks and other equipment. And whereas lack of a sound financial plan following denial of the grant is a significant weakness that does not bode well for future success of New Summit Charter Academy. And whereas New Summit Charter Academy's application does not reflect a detailed plan to attract and serve educationally disadvantaged students, including exceptional students, English language learners, and low-income students, which both CDE and the DAC noted. And whereas New Summit Charter Academy does not adequately describe how teachers will use a variety of strategies to support individual learners as identified by both CDE and the DAC. And whereas historically in Academy School District 20, fewer than 1/3 of those who expressed interest in the district charter school actually enrolled. Now therefore be it resolved by the board that it is not in the best interest of the district pupils and community that New Summit Charter Academy application be approved for the 2017-18 school year, and that therefore the New Summit Charter School Academy's application is hereby.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm going to invite Mr. Borland to speak to his resolution first, and then we'll have subsequent discussion.
You've heard me say on a number of occasions that it is my firm belief that charter schools are good for kids. They keep us on our toes, and in our game. I think this proposal has merit. I think it has the potential to offer a great education for a significant number of kids. However, as we've often been told, if it is worth doing, it is worth doing well. I think this proposal, for all its merits, needs work, particularly in the area of budget. I'm concerned about the loss of the CDE grant, that the loss of the CDE grant came too late for you to be able to do proper budget planning. I'm concerned about the plan for furniture and fixtures, for the finance of furnitures and fixtures and equipment. I want to support this proposal. And I encourage you over the next several months to rework the proposal and bring it back next year. Particularly, I would like to see you take some significant steps toward the 501c3. I think in the event that CD fails to award that grant, that could give you some horsepower in starting up the charter opportunity. I think if indeed the interest is as you perceive it to be, that 501c3 will attract a significant funding to help you do the startup. I would caution you though that having been through that a few times, getting a 501c3 now is not like it used to be. It used to be a 1 or 2 or 3 month process. It is a lengthy and complicated process now, so I would encourage you to get started on that quickly. Again, I want to reemphasize, I encourage you over the next several months, go back, work the proposal, rework the budget, particularly as regards, and particularly the proposal as it regards service students with educational needs.
Thank you. Mrs. Van Meter?
Well said, Mr. Borland. I would say the same thing. I know that this is really difficult. You have put in a great deal of work, and I admire the work. And I believe I made a comment to that effect at one of the prior hearings. But what I'm concerned about is that we're just not quite there yet. The budget issues are substantial. Because of the denial of the grant, it only made it worse, but the budget was tough anyway, and I really appreciate what you've come forward and tried to do with the numbers that you have. I think that you're doing the best with what you have, but I agree with Mr. Borland that perhaps this is just a time, this is an idea whose time is just not quite here. And I want to make sure that you're in a position to succeed. That's the most important thing, for not only for all the work that you're doing, but most importantly for the kids. One of the things that I was concerned about in the loss of the CDE grant were the areas that they rated the application particularly low, and those are the areas that I would encourage you to come back with a great deal of detail about next year. They talked about educationally disadvantaged students, professional development plan and goals, accountability and accreditation, networking and external support, the 501c3 is part of that, and the business capacity. Those are the 5 areas that they had the greatest concern. So I think that that is that's a very good indication of where the continuing work needs to be done. So I just want to say I agree with Mr. Borland on that account that I think that you all, I admire the work that you've done, and I really want to be able to say yes to this. But I'll tell you, I'm also particularly concerned with enrollment projections because I see that there are people who are interested and there are more people every day. However, the numbers, I did some inquiries about this because I just wanted to understand. Since I've been on this board, we have never had anything close to a viable charter application. This is the first one that's ever come to us that was really close to being viable, and I wanted to understand that and what do intent to enroll forms look like and what do numbers look like. I did some inquiries around that. You know, Mr. Van Wieren, I know that you know from being involved with TCA in the beginning what that process it feels like, and you're trying to get the word out to people as quickly as you can. TCA, I inquired about that one, and TCA in its first year enrolled 330 students. To the best of our ability to determine how many intent to enrolls there were in excess of 1,500 that resulted in 330 students. That having been said, that was a time ago, and it's possible that you all could do better than that rate, which was about 20% of intent to enroll. But even if you did 50% of your intent to enroll right now, you would have 219 as of today. We don't know what might happen from here on out, but we have to make our decision today. You would have 219, and the funded pupil count that you sent in today that you need is 362. I'd say that we're on our way to something that's possible. So I don't want you to lose hope in that, but I'd say we're just not there yet. And I'm concerned about that because just last night I was at the board of directors meeting for Colorado Association of School Boards, and we had a board member there representing Cherry Creek Schools who told us they had a significant issue with a charter startup this year, and there was a huge decision as to whether or not to allow the charter to start up. What happened was the charter did end up starting up this fall, and they had some concerns about finances, but they thought they were there, and the numbers looked good. Well, what has happened in the meantime is that unfortunately they started up, their intent to enrolls were higher than they thought. They ended up, they said they needed about 360 students, I believe, to start. So the numbers are a little bit higher than here, but to be viable, that's what they needed. Then they ended up, by the time school started, several people backed out on their intent to enroll, which is understandable because, you know, it's a big risk to be a parent in a startup school, and that's understandable to have your kid there. They started with about 240, I believe, something like that. Unfortunately, what's happened this fall is several people have withdrawn, some things have happened. Their October 1 count didn't come in where their August count came in. Fact of the matter is, they're to the point now where the district is now supporting them because they're at the point this month where they're probably not going to meet payroll. And they're having a rough year, and they may very well have a viable option. And the people are well-intentioned, and I think, you know, their hearts are in the right place and they're trying to do it, but it was very, very tight for them and it didn't work out. Now the problem that they have is, because this is going on, now parents are pulling their kids out of the school. And we all know what happens. They're in a downward spiral. They have about 90 kids left in this school. And the Cherry Creek board member is saying, this is terrible because now parents are pulling their kids out mid-year. We don't even know if this school is going to make it through a whole year, and if they do, the district is going to have to pull funds from other schools to support it because they can't meet payroll and they can't meet their obligations. So they're really in a quandary about that. We want to make sure that doesn't happen here. First of all, because of the kids. The kids absolutely need a sustainable program, not just for this year, but for year to year. If this is the right fit for them, we want them to be able to stay because we want the program to remain. Secondly, though, it also has to happen because of the work that you're putting in. And if it's a really great idea, and I think it's a good idea, I really do. And the work that you're all doing, we don't want all of that to go to waste because we try to do it at a time that's not right. So essentially, those are my thoughts on it. I just think, I think it's a great idea and I admire your work. I just think that there's maybe a little bit more work to be done and we want to make sure that it happens at a time when it can really be successful.
Thank you, Ms. Van Mater. Ms. Bullock?
Yes. So I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective, just because my husband and I have started our own company. And the numbers don't always look perfect. And, you know, when he started his company 6 years ago, we went to venture capitals and tried to get some funding, and they said, no, your numbers don't look perfect. And guess what? We didn't need it after all. And we've been just fine. And so I think sometimes things aren't pretty and sometimes they're not perfect. Life is really never perfect. And but I do have a lot of faith in this board. I think they've got some good people who are very smart and very hardworking and who have some experience in charters. You know, TCA 20 years ago, I mean, that was the forefront of charter schools. So I can understand why people might say, you know, I want to enroll and then not do it, because charter schools were a new thing and nobody really knew what they were. But now people know what charter schools are, and I think there's a lot of demand, especially in our community. We have a very, very conservative community, and frankly, people are kind of tired of the government telling people what to do. And so they go to charter schools where they can have a little bit more freedom and leeway. I believe that I was elected by the people of this district, and as such, when I have 438 people who are asking for a demand for a charter school, I think I need to listen to those people. I also am very fiscally conservative, and you know, I look at numbers very carefully. And I know some have said that we need to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, but I feel like parents are taxpayers. And these parents sitting in the room, they pay taxes just like I do. And so if they want to send their kid to a charter school, then I'll go for it. That's your choice. I mean, that's how I feel. I also worry that a lot of our concern about this board has to do with the CDE grant. And, you know, not a lot of good ever comes out of CDE, and so I really don't want to base my opinion on their decision, because I don't have a lot of faith in them. So those are some of my thoughts. With that in mind, I would like to make a motion to extend this charters for maybe another 30 days to give you guys a chance to talk to CDE and possibly some nonprofits. I know there's some very pro-charter billionaires in this state who might be willing to put in some money. And know that the last time we met, you guys had just found out about it, and we've gone through some holidays, and you have jobs and busy lives, and so I'd like to give you a little bit more time to talk to some of those people and see if you can come up with some funding, because like you said, you don't have deep pockets in your board, but I know there are some deep pockets around here, around this state, our pro charter, and so that is I'd like to put forward.
Okay. With that motion, we will suspend talking at this point about the motion to approve the resolution 2616 that Mr. Borland made, and I will request a second for Bullock's motion. Hearing none, we will return to the discussion of the prior motion, item 5. Did I handle that properly? Robert's Rules of Orders. Okay. All right.
We have a motion on the table. Second.
Well, nobody seconded Mrs.
No, I'm talking about the first motion.
Oh,
Is that where you're voting?
yeah, that one has been seconded. So we're good? Thank you. Well, thank you for your comments, Mrs. Bullock. Colonel Harding, although you're not a voting member, would you like to contribute to the discussion?
I don't really have very much to add. I'm quite sympathetic to charter schools and the mission that they provide, the niche that they fill in the educational landscape, but as a fairly fiscally conservative person myself, I share Mr. Borland's concerns and Ms. Van Mater's concerns. A question would be, what would be the latest we would even be able to entertain any kind of approval for where it would be viable for the next school year? Because who knows how long it would take to get into CDE, who knows how long it would take to complete the nonprofit status grant and that sort of thing.
Statutorily, the board is required to make a decision on a charter school application within 90 days of its receipt. This board received the application on September 30th, making the 90-day mark December 30th. And we don't have a scheduled meeting now and then, and thus that's the consideration at this point.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Well, I will add my thoughts. I share the views expressed, in large part by all the members here, but in particular, Mrs. Van Mater, Mr. Borland, Colonel Harding, and it deeply saddens me, frankly, to say so. I was prepared when we received the application for New Summit Charter to approve it, and was as surprised as everyone else to receive the denial from CDE. And I think there's an important part that we're missing about this denial. It wasn't about the money. That's not why CDE denied it. There were serious concerns raised about aspects, educational aspects, outlined in the CDE denial. And those were rendered difficult to address by the lack of funds to do so. So it's actually a two-part thing. And all of that is to say that in my heart, the most critical aspect for a successful education in any venue is the atmosphere that exists there. And when the atmosphere is not one of, where there's support in the sense that there's no worry as to, are we going to be able to make it to next year? And the fact that one of the first things that were cut was the Capturing Kids' Heart program. I mean, if you're going to start with your distinguishing factor, your curriculum, and then move immediately to something else that is billed as a pilot, that causes me concern as to where are your priorities. So I fully support, and I sincerely hope that you will return in a year with a substantially strengthened application that addresses the areas outlined in the CDE denial. And I hope that that will be an opportunity for all of us to move forward, because I agree that that a charter school it's time for us to seriously address the need in this community that has been repeatedly expressed. So I hope you'll take my comments to heart. They are sincere. And if there are any others who would like to add, if there's anything further to say, we can move forward to roll call. Oh, Ms. Van Meter, yes.
I had one more thought after what Colonel Harding asked about the timing. That's the reason I did not second Mrs. Bullock's motion, because we know that, I don't know the exact day that the open enrollment window becomes available in District 20, but it's typically around February 1st. It's the end of January, something like that. So something would have to happen with the Christmas holidays in here. We'd have to have something by mid-January. And I think that would be, we'd have to have some sort of change, dramatic change in several of these areas by mid-January in order to make that possible. I realize that some of the kids coming into, who would be applying for New Summit would not be D20 kids, but about half of them would. So in my mind, that's why I guess I did not second the motion that you made, Mrs. Bullock. So I just wanted to, I was just thinking about that in terms of timing, and I wanted to clear that up. And I also had some concerns in terms of timing to be able to start a brand new school and not be able to bring a principal on until late spring. That's a real challenge too, in terms of getting everything lined up and ready to go. So those were my thoughts about that.
Sorry, no, thank you. Anything further? Well, I think we're ready to move to a roll call. Mrs. Haddad?
Mr. Borland?
Aye.
Mrs. Bullock?
No.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Van Meter?
Aye.
All right. Well, that was well done. Thank you all for the effort you put forward. Thank you, board members. I think at this point we'll take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Yeah.
those decisions behind closed doors. It's ridiculous.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. I think our maker was crying.
I know, I walked in and she said that. I walked in and I said, where's our coffee?
I know. Take care. Nice seeing you again. Have a Merry Christmas. Take care. I will.
I need to go take a minute, actually. Well, it's nice to re-meet you again.
How are you guys? How are you? Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good to see you guys.
Take care. Nice to see you. Have a Merry Christmas. You too. I went.